to dig into. And so you're right, for those detectives and their team to have tracked this down, and I think there was some maybe rewards involved, so they got some tips, and they did all the right things. They pushed all the right buttons. And what it shows in today's day and age, Brett, if you're going to commit a crime, they're going to catch you.
Yeah.
It may take some time, but they're going to catch you. And this is tragic. The young man that lost his life, I mean, you're just going to work, trying to make a few bucks for the family, and then the next thing you know, it's just heartbreaking.
Well, and we take our lives for granted a lot of times. I mean, when is to say that our time's going to come up? So, I mean, you always have to be ready, biblically, with your family, making sure that, that's one of the things that we do in our house is anytime we leave it, we don't leave angry. We always hug each other. We always tell each other, we love each other. Even if you're angry at one another, just being able to make sure that you leave on a good note, because you never know when the last time you're going to see someone.
You're right. Just today when I was leaving, Liliana said, no kiss, and I was already down the stairs. So I said, meet me halfway.
The guilt trip, man.
Yeah.
The guilt trip.
And I wasn't angry. I was just in a hurry. And that's my problem, is I'm in a hurry a lot of times. So you just scoot out with saying, but you never know. But at least this family hopefully can have closure, and justice will be served in that case. So if you followed the Brown University shooting, tragic, again, 2 students lost their lives in that. So it appears that the suspected gunman has been, this has been resolved. They found him dead, I guess, an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. They found him dead in a storage container. And what comes of this is now Homeland Security Secretary Kristen Noem has come out and said, hey, we're going to put on pause or put an end to the diversity visa program. Brett, I did not know this existed. This was, I guess, initiated in the 90s, and this was created by Congress that offered up to 50,000 immigrant visas each year to applicants from countries with relatively low immigration rates in the United States. So this was DEI before DEI ever existed. So I guess you had somebody looking across the nation and saying, hey, we don't have enough people from, Zimbabwe, and we need some Zimbabweans here or whatever. I don't know. I guess that was the origin of this, is feeling, hey, we need more representation. I find that bizarre. If people want to emigrate to our country, let them do it. But I don't think we need to be going out there and trying to harvest this, and that's what she's going to put an end to.
Yeah. And, what they're going to be pushing, all those other countries are going to be pushing getting their prisons emptied. Why would they not send all the people that aren't producing or are taking from society? But to your point earlier about pushing the right buttons, according to the Associated Press, it was an anonymous tipster was to help crack the case. I mean, the mere fact that they were able to leave campus without having some form of justice is odd enough to me.
Well, they had tons of surveillance video. So they ultimately find the guy. He's dead. And here's the connectivity between what Kristi Noem's going to do and this guy. Not even going to say his name, and that's something I've done on this show, and I think I've been pretty good about it until everything's finished. He was one of these immigrants that came in off the diversity visas. That's how he came here.
Yeah.
So he came from Portugal. So I guess at the time we determined we didn't have enough people from Portugal. So we went and got some. And so I did a little digging to look at some of the most recent cases of foreign nationals or illegal immigrants who came to our country and committed a crime. This is why she is wanting to put an end to this, and President Trump as well. We have to pause what we're doing. We have to pause who's coming into this country, because, Brett, we have enough people here already, unfortunately, that commit crimes. We don't need to import additional criminals.
Yeah.
So Jose Antonio Ibarra, that's the most famous, recently killed Laken Riley in Athens. Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez, an undocumented immigrant from El Salvador, convicted of raping and murdering a 37-year-old Maryland woman. 2 Venezuelan nationals charged with rape and murder of a 12-year-old Jesselyn Nungri in Houston, Texas. I mean, the list goes on. I did 12. I didn't want to list all these guys' names, but these are absolute creeps that have come here and committed crimes, and we've had enough. There's when you do this, when you bring people in indiscriminately, and we do not have a thorough system of vetting who these people are, you're exposing our citizens to danger.
Well, what hits home to me is when the whole Laken Riley thing, my son, who's 14, he plays piano at the University of Georgia Community Outreach, music program. Phenomenal program if you haven't looked into it.
Wow.
But my youngest child and my wife always walk at that area, and they were there the day before the murder. Mm. So my wife was shook. I mean, not only the fact that it was just a complete travesty that it even happened, it was it reached so many people in the area, but from a hitting close to home, not only was it right down the road for us, University of Georgia, my beloved Bulldogs. Not only was it a taking of a senseless taking of a life, beautiful young lady, but my 9-year-old daughter and my wife walked there. Yeah, and that was just very sobering for us.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Brett Malden is hanging out in the studio with me today. Brett, this is again, I can't emphasize enough. I'm an advocate for legal immigration, people going through the process. We want people who are bright and can add to our society to come to the United States of America, just like my wife did. It is a very complicated process. It takes steps. It takes time. It takes money. It's designed that way so that you're getting. And look, I'm going to go ahead and say it. We want the best and the brightest.
Absolutely.
We want those that are going to come here and make America greater. We do not want people coming here that are going to drag us down. Mm-hmm. I find it interesting that people often reference the quote on the Statue of Liberty, and this is not exact, but basically saying, give me your sick, give me your poor. That is not our policy. That was an inscription on the Statue of Liberty.
Given by the French.
That is not U.S. policy. We want to be sure at this point of the stage of our country that we are building, preferably from within, that we're growing, that we're replacing ourselves. We talked about this the other day with Mitch Swan on the birth rate in the United States. But if immigrants are going to come here, that they make our country better.
Absolutely.
Is that too much to ask?
Well, and I think that you would be able to speak on this more educated than most anybody else. Most of the time when I see people that have come here legally, they expect and want others to come here legally, and they want to go through the same process.
Absolutely.
I tell you, the test that you have to take at immigration, I would venture to say that in today's society, especially under the age of, let's say, 50, I bet you that most of the American citizens could not pass the test required to get here.
When Liliana was studying for that test, Brett, I was looking, I was like, this is legit. I mean, it's a bona fide test. It was a very impressive moment when they had the swearing-in ceremony to get your citizenship. If I remember correctly, let's say, for example, Brett, in that room, let's say there was 100 people, and that's probably pretty accurate. There was 100 people in that room that particular day, and every nationality was represented. There was people from every country. I thought it would be heavily Latin America. That wasn't the case. It was every country was there. And there was so much pride, and there was such a unique moment in that room. And these are all people that went about it the right way.
Mm-hmm. And how many of those people were in tears, crying because they were so proud to accomplish something that everyday American citizens take for granted?
And I was one of them. I mean, I got choked up. It was just such a special moment. But you're right. You could feel the patriotism from those people that had emigrated here, and they're getting their citizenship and doing it the right way.
We should trade 4 of those people for 1 Rosie O'Donnell's. Any day, I'll take it. We'll pass in the whole view.
Do a 1-for-1 transfer on that one. No, yeah, absolutely. The faster we can implement that, the better. One more thing, too, I'll tell you this, Brett. When you talk about those that come here, the other thing that I think is vitally important is assimilation. And what I mean by that is when you look at it, and my situation with Liliana was a little bit different because we fell in love. We met overseas. We went through the proper channels, came here, got married, and the rest is history.
And you've been married how long?
28 years.
Wow.
Oh, you put me on you tested me, Brad.
You could have picked a number, and I would have hoped you were picking the right one. That's not a true friend, guys. I apologize. I apologize.
Well, at least you didn't ask the date, but I do know the date, too. September 12th. Yeah. If you're listening, honey.
That's brownie points.
That's right. But it's what concerns me, Brett, is when you have these mass immigration events and then you take a population of people like Somalians and you put them in a community together, there's no incentive to assimilate.
Dearborn, Michigan's #1 spot. They play all the different prayers over And listen, I'm all for it. If you believe that, that's fine. But you should assimilate to their culture they should assimilate to our culture instead of us to theirs.
That's exactly right.
So, several times a day, they're playing it over the city's loudspeakers and the prayers, and you look at Minnesota, and you look at how they're jokingly calling that Little Somalia.
It is. It's exactly what's taking place. And I think that is a result of whoever initiated these mass immigration plans for those events. Instead of figuring out, hey, let's spread this out a little bit, they allow these communities to just coagulate, and then there's no desire to learn the language. There's no desire to follow our system of government. And then, like you said, the prayers over the loudspeakers has to be one of the most shocking things. How would that fly in Morgan County? There'd be some fireworks, wouldn't
there? Yeah, Morgan, Newton, Walton. I think that we all pretty much look at it the same way.
Yeah.
It would be eye-opening, but we look at some of the representatives that we're seeing at the state capitol. They're even, pushing some of their own agendas.
That's right. That's what happens when we allow it to happen ourselves. It happened under our watch, but, there's things that we can do to fix this. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, more with Brett Moulton.
One of the fun parts of Christmas is the dazzling light displays. Some are tasteful and elegant. Others are a little over the top. Whether gaudy or gorgeous, it's hard to imagine Christmas without lights. Yet very few realize why light is so important at Christmas. Man is naturally drawn to spiritual darkness. The Bible says light has come into the world, but people love darkness instead of the light. Here's the hard truth. The light of Jesus exposes the sin in my heart and yours. Fearing that exposure, we reject him and choose to remain in the dark. Bad mistake. His light keeps us from stumbling through the darkness. Christmas is the annual birthday celebration of Jesus, the light of the world, who came to dispel the darkness. Christmas lights are a reminder of Jesus, who overcame the spiritual darkness of this world. This is Bryant Wright, wishing you a Merry Christmas, speaking right from my heart.
For devotions, visit rightfromtheheart.org.
Here's Evan Youngblood for Youngblood Tractor in Madison.
Did you know Youngblood Tractor is much more than just tractors? Sure, we have the biggest selection of Massey Ferguson tractors around and all the attachments you could ever need. But did you know we also carry the Kawasaki side-by-side lineup like the legendary Kawasaki Mule, Terex, and Ridge? That's Kawasaki's new cab model with heat and AC. Youngblood Tractor also carries the complete Spartan zero-turn mower lineup from residential to commercial zero-turn mowers. Combine that with our massive trailer inventory of equipment, dump, enclosed, and utility trailers, you can always build a winning combination at Youngblood Tractor right here in Madison. We also feature a full parts and service department to help maintain your equipment for years to come. Whether you're a full-time farmer, hunter, or property owner looking to maintain your land, Youngblood Tractor is here to make your next outdoor project a success. Call us today at 706-342-2242 or stop by and see us at 1600 Athens Highway in Madison or shop us 24 hours a day at youngbloodtractor.com.
Welcome back. Marc McMain, Brett Moulton's here. Chastity, we're going to have some great tunes you're going to be queuing up for us at the end of the first and end of the second hour.
Yep, our favorite group.
That's right.
Yep,
I love it.
So excited.
I love it, man. We got to get them back here and have another interview and learn more about them. We got to find out where they're going to be in concert, too, nearby.
Yeah, they're going on tour, so I'm going to get them back on the show.
Wouldn't it be cool if they came to Athens?
Oh, it would be so fun.
Yeah, that would be
I want to
blast.
go to their little backyard party, so.
Yeah, they look.
Maybe
they
we'll
have
get invited.
Yeah, they have a blast. Brett, so let me ask you this: going back to my Christmas shopping, talking about the hand cannon. What do you? So I'm thinking like a good .357 revolver.
Yeah,
just old school.
I'm a big fan of 9mm. Just when ammo got short,
yeah.
And if we ever get in those situations again, I like to have redundancies with my guns.
15 plus 1.
Yeah. So most of my guns are, I have a 38 long nose that I enjoy shooting, just a revolver.
Yeah.
But man, 9mm, it's hard to beat a 9mm. It carries a punch. And
I like the simplicity of a revolver for self-defense because there's not a lot of moving parts, right?
Yeah.
Unless you want to keep one chambered, right?
Yeah.
Then it's a little bit different. But so I got to figure out what I'm going to do. I think this will be a good little gift.
I had an old country guy. He was telling me about it. He says, if it takes you more than 6 shots to get an intruder down, you got the wrong. And he said, and when they start looking at it, it doesn't matter which way that cylinder spins. One's coming at them. I was like, fair enough.
There's something about the construction of a revolver that I've always been a huge fan. I do have the M&P 40 is one of my favorite guns, and that's an automatic or semi-automatic pistol. Love shooting it. But there's just something about a revolver.
Yeah.
It just feels good. And it's not the Western deal. It's just, I'm talking about the huskiness of the meatiness.
You don't have to worry about it jamming.
Nope.
Nope.
You only get 6 shots, so you better be a decent.
Well, hopefully you're not getting in shootouts very often, right?
Yeah, especially at distance.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see what. I got to go back to. I'll tell you what. I was at Franklin's Chastity. They have an incredible assortment. It's a huge variety.
They have everything.
Hey, was David Earl supposed to be on today? Forgot about David.
No, we had him
last week.
Yeah. So, but we can get him on. He will come on.
We'll
for
save
you.
him for after New Year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get him on. Have him give us a fishing report. Brett, let's talk a little bit about President Trump was trying to block $2.2 billion in research grants to Harvard University, and this stemmed from what was apparent that Harvard might not be clamping down on anti-Semitic events enough, right? And several Ivy League schools kind of fell into this category. If you remember, there was a big event over the summer that a lot of these schools were having these things taking place, and they were like, oh, well, this is free speech, but they were really foul, evil events. So President Trump said, hey, I'm going to hit you where it hurts, and we're going to pause these grants. So the United States government has appealed a federal court ruling now that has blocked the Trump administration from terminating these grants. I'm going to tell you, Brett, I've got heartburn to begin with that we were giving money. We're $37 trillion in debt, and that we're giving money to an institution who is absolutely loaded to the gill, plenty of money. What are we giving the money for?
Well, my thought is when some of these politicians get out of office, they got to go somewhere to make money, right? So if they're giving them billions of dollars, hopefully they'll pay them millions of dollars later to be adjunct professors and whatnot. So that's just a theory we'll just throw out there.
That definitely could be some of this. I mean, there's, in my opinion, when you look at the coffers that some of these universities have, and they're getting money from the federal government or from a state government, then the federal government or state government should have a say.
Yeah. And I always find it so ironic that these groups that preach tolerance and whatnot are some of the most intolerant people you'll ever see.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I'm not a fan of the Ivy League schools. I think they have gone ultra far left, and that is proven. And I think they've done a summary of the way their staff and faculty vote. It's somewhere north of 80 or 90%. They vote Democrat. And so I just do not think that those are institutions that are harvesting a culture of conservative values. And if anything, how often do you hear the story that a family raises a son or daughter and then they go to one of these institutions and then they come back and they're indoctrinated?
Yeah. And honestly, I think you're seeing that a lot in a lot of the universities. I love academia a lot of times can breed liberal mindsets.
Well, and I think where it comes from, too, what concerns me this, Brett, is if you have a professor, I don't care if you have a professor who is a liberal. I don't care if they're far left liberal. Just keep your thoughts to yourself. Where it gets creepy is if you have a professor who is a liberal, or I don't care if you're a conservative, and you start trying to sway the mind of an 18 or 19-year-old, and that you could call them an adult, they're still a kid. You're trying to sway that mind.
Well, I remember when I came back from college one time, and this is from a Christian school, right? I came back from college, and we were talking about economics with my dad. And my dad, he worked 19 years at UPS. He started a business from his garage and grew it to, fairly large business. And I was explaining to him when he was talking about being in a downturn economically. And I was like, Dad, you know what they taught us in school is the only way to get out of an economic downturn is government spending.
Oh.
And my dad looked at me and goes, is that right? And I was like, yeah, we need to build roads and we need infrastructure and all this stuff. And then he didn't chastise me. He didn't do any of that stuff. He's like, you'll learn on your own. And I got out and I was like, wow, government spending didn't help me a bit.
No.
You know,
Isn't
they
that
didn't
something?
care about the houses that we were working on. They didn't care any of that stuff. You know, but it's interesting to see it. What they ended up doing was just taking more of our tax dollars.
Well, and I look at this too, Brett, you know, going back to the influence that a professor has, I look at how my relationship was with my sons who are now both on their own. And I never sat down and said, hey, you're going to be a conservative and taught them how to think in that capacity. It was just demonstrating, like you said, real life principles. And they both discovered at an early age that they're conservatives.
Yeah.
And so it's, and I think it's the same thing for me. I look back in my household, my parents, I guarantee you by the time I was 15, 18, I guarantee my parents never once let me know if they were Republicans or
No,
Democrats.
I couldn't tell you when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Could not tell you. I was in college and didn't know, but I started hearing the ideology about certain things. And I was like, I don't agree with that.
That's right. Yeah.
And, you know, I was listening to a stat the other day, and they said that the tax dollars that you end up having to pay, right, the number of days that you work for free for the government actually works out to be right at April the 15th.
Yeah, I remember Bortz used to talk about that on his show. Yeah. That was like that. So all that up until that point is free. You're working for free.
Yeah.
No, it's frustrating, and I hope President Trump and his administration win this Court of Appeals, because I do not want to see the federal government giving any more money to these institutions who are already bloated financially as it is. We do not have the money, Brett. We're $37 trillion in debt, so we need to be very prudent as to where this money goes. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Brett Malden and I are kicking around some topics until Alex Ward gets here. He's going to be our first guest. One other little subject that I've been kicking this around quite a bit, Brett, is President Trump has now said he does not need congressional approval to carry out ground strikes against Venezuela. So over the past several months now, the Trump administration, through the command of Pete Hegseth, have been targeting these narco traffickers on international waters, right? So they've designated them as a narco-terrorist state, which now gives them authority. They're clear and present danger, and they can knock them out of the water, and boy, have they been efficient at doing this.
Yeah, and we were talking off air. Chuck Schumer, who has been one of the biggest, mouthpieces against it, and how he shouldn't be going after these drug boats. In 1986, he co-sponsored a bipartisan anti-drug abuse act where it allowed the Maritime Drug Law Enforcement Act, so the MDLEA. Do your own research, guys. And it allowed the Coast Guard and other government agencies to target, by any means necessary, drug boats coming into the United States.
Yeah, so now he's flipped and he's on the side of the narco-terrorists.
Because his party's not in power, right?
But don't you find it interesting that they truly they have more concern about the well-being of two dudes floating in a boat that are trafficking poison to our country than the tens of thousands of people that they're killing every year in our country?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's been one of the biggest proponents against fentanyl for the longest, but now it's not a big issue, right?
Right.
And my whole thing is people have to start setting aside their politics, right? And I know that sounds ironic because I've already said something about liberals today, so grant me a little bit of mercy right here. But people have to get their, as Dave Ramsey would say, get your head out of your politics and start working on what's best for people, right?
Well, and this is not just isolated to what we're talking about here. That what you just described with Chuck Schumer has gone on in the Democratic Party for a long time. And I'm not saying there aren't Republicans that are guilty of this, but if you go back and pull up tape on Barack Obama, the Clintons, you name it, Obama famously one time came out and said, hey, I'm marriage is between a man and a woman, right?
Right.
So it's almost like they'll shift depending upon where the political winds are blowing.
And what will get them the most donations.
That's right. Yeah. So whatever needs to be said, whatever is the right thing for that exact moment is the way they're going to go. And their convictions and their principles are absolutely out the window. With what you just described, that's a case in hand. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, more with Brett Walden, and I think our buddy Alex Ward will be here as well.
As we continue to struggle with increasing prices on everything from food to gas to clothing and school supplies, all of us are facing stress on our budget. At Oliver Insurance and Financial Service, while they cannot impact all the areas of increase, Oliver Insurance offers a no-obligation comparison of your present home and auto insurance from the 9 carriers they represent. They also offer commercial, boat, RVs, and life insurance. Call 770-978-9470 to start a quick comparison or visit the website oliverfinancial.com.
My name is Trace Akins. I'm from Moultrie, Georgia. To be an organ donor, it would make my family really proud to see something of me live on in someone else. I want my legacy to be me being there for someone who really needs me and helping someone out that really needs help, hoping that they will continue that legacy within themselves and do that with their friends and family.
When you become an organ and tissue donor, your story continues. Lifelink. Register today at mystorycontinues.com.
What matters most at Walton EMC? Reliability. With 99.99% reliability, we power lives around the clock. From investing in renewable energy to strengthening our grid, we're always working to keep your power on, even when severe weather strikes. And when it's needed, you can count on our skilled teams 24/7 to quickly restore your service. Walton EMC, investing energy in what matters most. Learn more at waltonemc.com.
Looking for that perfect piece of jewelry designed just for you? At P&A Jewelers, family owned since 1976, we've been helping our customers shine for nearly 50 years. Now proudly run by second-generation brother and sister team, we specialize in custom jewelry design, expert repair work, and fine jewelry for every occasion. Visit P&A Jewelers, where family tradition sparkles. Located in Loganville beside Quick Trip, or online at shoppajewelers.com. Follow us on Facebook to see what's new.
And welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. Our first guest is my friend Alex Ward. He is a commissioner in Barrow County. Alex, thank you for joining us today, sir.
Mark, thank you for having me.
First time we had you on the show, you called in. Now you're big time. You're in here in studio with us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Well, makes it better. Give us an update. Tell us what's going on in Barrow County right now. What's big on the plate for you guys?
So I think the biggest thing is we just had the grand opening last Wednesday of a brand new Kroger Marketplace in District 4. It's actually right inside my district.
That's in your district.
It is. And, it's, I think for the last 2 or 3 years, one of the most common posts I saw on Rants and Raves was, when are we going to get a Kroger in Barrow County? We need a Kroger in Barrow County. So we now have Kroger.
I heard this thing
County.
is a monstrosity.
It is massive. I have only explored a little bit, just trying to get. I had to run in and out a couple times, but they sell clothing in the store. They sell Carhartt.
This is like
a store.
Brett. It's a super Kroger. Is that what they call it? A super Kroger? Or
They
mega?
call it. The official name is Kroger Marketplace.
Kroger Marketplace.
It's essentially super Kroger.
So it's the Buc-ee's of grocery stores.
That's right.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I mean, they've got everything in there. It is. It's impressive.
Well, that's not too far from where I live. Do you have a Kroger in Morgan County, Brett?
We don't.
Okay, you got Farmview.
Yeah, we got Farmview, we got Ingles. I mean,
Well, you're big time. You got
big
Ingles.
time. We got a Walmart, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny though that you brought up Buc-ee's. So one of the things that they do when they open a new Kroger is they have a sale on meats, primarily brisket. So when they open up the one in Houston, they actually were doing $1.99 a pound brisket.
Whoa.
For ours, they did $2.99 a pound brisket. I don't know how much they brought in for ours, but for the Houston one, they brought in 35 truckloads, so they wouldn't run out. And I joked that that Buc-ee's was trying to figure out where all the brisket went.
Yeah.
That's why the price of brisket sandwiches went up recently.
That's it.
Buc-ee's has some good brisket.
Yeah.
What do they have some chant they do? Brisket on the board when they roll that back. I'm a regular Buc-ee's.
I don't know. You got two people standing on every tile at a Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
If you have anxiety, that is the best place.
But I tell you,
to try to cure it.
Cleanest bathrooms in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you got to go at Buc-ee's. Alex, and you're right. So that new Kroger, I know where that's located. It's kind of catty corner, if you will, not catty corner, but down the road from the Publix. So that area there, of Bethlehem, of Barrow County, I guess that actually is Bethlehem, right?
So it's a Bethlehem mailing address depending on which side of the street you're standing on and which direction you're pointing.
That's a booming area.
It is. It's probably so we're one of the fastest growing counties in the state. And that area is probably the fastest growing part of the county right now.
Little factoid. So back in 2008 to 2012, you may be too young to remember some of this, but that was obviously a very difficult financial time for the state of Georgia. That particular geography, that Bethlehem area on 316, have you been up there, Brett? You know what we're talking about?
Yeah, definitely.
That geography was one of the few places, if not the only place in the state of Georgia where commercial development continued.
Yeah, and a shout out to the post office over there in Bethlehem. I know you're getting worked really hard right now during Christmas season.
Chris Lelly, our mayor over there.
Yeah. Their cancellation machine is actually down, so they've got a sign up that says, "Sorry for the inconvenience, the cancellation machine's down, but we still have the stamps, so you can still stamp Bethlehem on there."
Oh no! So, but the real magic is getting the formal government stamp that says from the city of Bethlehem.
Yeah.
Oh mercy!
Yeah, so
is it down in perpetuity? Will they have it back up?
I'm sure at some point they'll get it.
Somebody wanted a day off early, right?
maybe that's it.
Alex, tell us a little bit about your profession. You're an attorney, but tell us what you specialize in.
I am an attorney, so I specialize primarily in small and medium business law. I like to do the transactional work. When I went out and worked for myself for a reason. I don't like having a lot of bosses.
Yeah.
And when you do litigation, every judge is actually your boss. You actually have to submit to the court when you want to take vacation a leave of absence to every court that you have a case pending in. So I try to avoid that as much as possible, and I focus primarily on the transactional. How can we help businesses on the front end to protect themselves by making sure that we've got some ironclad contracts in place, that your employee contract stuff is in place, that if you do have an employee issue and you've unfortunately got to make that employment adjustment and let them go, let's make sure that we are saying the right things, because even what you think is just being a compassionate boss and letting somebody go can actually turn around and bite you as part of an EEOC complaint.
I bet. Yeah. Brett, you got a lot of employees.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you this too, going back to the bosses. So you have not been married yet. You're a single man.
That's
See, Brett
correct.
and I've got bosses. Our boss is our wife.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, we know, we're trained. We've been potty trained very well. And that's the best, but that is one of the best parts about being self-employed, is you can kind of call your own shots to a degree. What's coming up in Barrow County? What's next for you?
So I'm up for re-election next year. So it's already been 4 years. It flies by these days.
So you're a 4-year term.
4-year term.
So you got your primary in May, then you get your general.
And then the general in November.
Any opposition?
So I've been told that at least one person has filed a declaration of intent, and the person that I've ran against twice before in the special election as well as the primary is planning to run again.
Okay.
So we'll see how that all shakes out. But for me, at the end of the day, it's about the job that I'm doing as commissioner, and if the folks in District 4 like what I've done, I'm going to put it in their hands to put me back there. I've tried to be as visible as possible in the community. I'm always out at different events.
You are, yep.
And so that's big for me, is that I don't want to be seen as just somebody sitting in the ivory tower. I'm a resident there. I live there. I want my neighbors to see that I'm in the district too. I'm out there. Every decision that I make also impacts me.
You're on the streets, and you see what's going on. It's a big deal. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Brett Malden is hanging out with me today, and our guest is Alex Ward, Barrow County Commissioner. Brett, we had on yesterday Timmy Shelnut, who is a Walton County Commissioner. Last week, Emery Hardin, Oconee County Commissioner. We've done a really good job on the show of interviewing just about every commissioner that wants to come on the show. We've had one of the Morgan County Commissioners. That is not an easy elected position.
No.
You take a lot of flack. I think those are decisions that are made on the county commission level impact the citizens sometimes immediately, and you're not always going to make everybody happy.
That's right.
It's a challenging deal. And matter of fact, I would say sometimes you're elected commissioner right off the bat, 25-30% of the people, and it's not down political lines. It really, even though that is a partisan race, because you have to designate if you're a Republican, Barrow County, right? So it's a partisan race. The discontent is really not down political lines like you would see on a state or federal level. It's a different animal.
It is, and one of the item I tell people is probably the most challenging as a county commissioner is when we're having to deal with rezoning. because I think with rezones, that is the one item that you almost always have competing interests. You've got the existing residents who want that 200, 300 acres to remain a farmland, and then you've got the property owners who it's now passed on to their grandkids, and they're living somewhere else, and they don't want to keep it as a farm, and they want to sell it and try to get the maximum profit for that land. And so it's a question of how do you balance those interests and recognize that they have private property rights and are entitled to get maximum value for their dollar, but also respecting the residents who are there and trying to maintain the character as much as possible.
Yeah, and lucky for you, your Kroger's big enough now that you're bound to run into one that does not like it and one that does like
That's right.
it.
Yes.
That's the way it goes, yeah. Yeah, that's it. And you and I talked about too. You have to have a balance between residential growth and commercial growth. And if that gets lopsided, you got to figure out how to balance that. Is that something you guys are dealing with right now in Barrow County?
It absolutely is. Barrow County has, for a long time, been a bedroom community. We right now are between about 78-80% residential, and you really want to be pushing closer to 50 to 60%. Residential.
So you want to attract
commercial.
more industry to kind of balance that out.
Absolutely. So, and obviously property taxes is always a sore subject. I hate paying my property taxes as well. And as difficult as it is for residents to pay their property taxes, the average residential property is still a net tax consumer. They're going to use more in government services, especially once you start factoring in the school system and things like that.
Yeah.
You're going to use more in government services than they're actually going to pay in taxes. That's not the case with commercial and industrial. They don't have homestead exemption. They're not adding students to the to the school system, yet they're still paying for the school taxes. So you really need that commercial and industrial to help balance that tax base out.
So from the area that we come from, it's kind of different from what you're talking about. A lot of the constituents we have in our district want to maintain what our community is, right? We don't want the growth that you're experiencing and you're kind of seeking out. We like the amenities. Some people would love to have a Kroger where we are. But when I look at it, I love the country feel of our community. The whole district as a whole seems to push back against growth. Me personally, I don't want the growth, right? So how are you combating that against some of the people that have been there for multi-generations and what they're wanting versus what the needs are for your community?
Absolutely. And, we do have that, especially from a lot of longtime residents, is they want to hold on to that more rural feel as much as possible. The challenging thing is once you have in place a comprehensive plan, and that comprehensive plan is supposed to take into consideration the concerns of the residents. It's a long study that's done to create that comprehensive plan, and then once that comprehensive plan is in place, generally we have to abide by that. So if the comprehensive plan allows for medium density residential in a particular area, if the folks that are ready to sell that parcel want it to be medium density residential,
they have the right to.
They have the right to. Right. And if we don't allow that, we actually open up the door for a lawsuit. So for me, it's trying to avoid the cut and dry, the black and white. As much as the residents want to just say no on it, I try to explain to folks, we can't say no. It'll open the door to a lawsuit. Lawyers are going to get paid. We're most likely going to lose. And like I said, the only thing we get out of it is we've paid attorney's fees, and I'm not one of those lawyers making that money. So I don't like it.
Well, and I think, too, that what the appetite is for is because there's going to have growth. You're going to have it at some point. It's smart growth. I lived in DeKalb County when I was a kid. I lived in Rockdale County. When I moved to Rockdale County, Brett, it was farmland. It really was. 138 now, as you cut through the heart of Conyers, is absolutely it's pavement and buildings everywhere. That was all farmland when I moved to Rockdale County. So then I come to Walton County, same thing. The old adage was when I moved to Walton County was where, the joke from Maxie Price was, where's Loganville? Because Loganville was the country. Well, now drive through Loganville at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, and it is congested. So I think what we want is smart growth, because it's going to come. It's just how do you manage it to be sure that there's a balance between residential, commercial, that the infrastructure can maintain and take care of what's going on. Because I'm one of those guys that's like, I want elbow space, right? I want to sit on my front porch and ideally not see my neighbor if that's possible.
It just seems like the only thing we're growing right now is concrete,
Yeah.
And that's one of the things so I tell folks, tell me what your specific concerns are. Don't just tell me, say no. Tell me what your specific concerns are, because instead of saying no, I can say yes, but, and I can add conditions.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I've been very intentional about is on a lot of the residential is adding conditions that require the HOAs to have restrictive covenants that cap rentals that's enforced by the HOA. So that way you don't have investment companies coming up in and buying out every single house that's for sale and turning it into permanent rental communities.
Yeah.
So
that's
adding in increased zoning buffers and vegetatively screened zoning buffers so that you have some of that trees.
Some guardrails in place to kind of
Exactly.
maintain that. So, Brett, I don't know if you know this. We actually sit in Morgan County here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've got a few acres, and I was thinking of putting a Buc-ee's next door. Is that can we pull that off? Put a Buc-ee's going Good Hope?
That's right. It'd be tough, man. It'd be tough. I think the Ruarks over there in Boston would be upset.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. We come back more with Alex Ward.
This Christmas shopping season, give the gift of outdoors from Outdoor Specialty, serving Watkinsville and the surrounding area since 2002 with a wide variety of plants, trees, shrubs, ground cover, and more. Plus, you'll find a full line of irrigation supplies like sprinkler heads, pipe replacement parts, and more. Add some beauty to someone's home with a huge selection of pottery, landscape stones, mulch, and more. In the garden center, see their great selection of bird houses, bird feeders, and don't forget the Coles bird seed. The deer love Christmas too. Be sure to pick up some of Elsie's apple-flavored deer corn. This Christmas, stop in and say hello to Elsie, Diane, and their friendly staff at Outdoor Specialty, 1460 Greensboro Highway in Watkinsville. Wishing you and your family the very best this Christmas season. Call 706-769-8737 or go to OutdoorSpecialtyNursery.com.
Hey, this is Doug.
And this is Robbie.
We own and operate Foy Tree Service.
When you need tree cutting, stump grinding, lot clearing, mulching, firewood, and more, call Foy Tree Service.
Serving Morgan County and surrounding area since 1987.
With top quality service and fair prices, we take pride in our work, and we do everything to make sure that you are a happy customer.
That's Foy Tree Service. Call us at 706-342-8733.
That's 706-342-TREE.
Leadfoot Mulching and Grading offers land clearing, hauling of gravel and sand, and more. And now offering screen topsoil for the farmer or homeowner, asphalt paving, and more. No job is too big or small. Locally owned and operated, it's Leadfoot Mulching and Grading, serving all of North Georgia. Fair prices and great customer service. Phone 404-909-5227 or go to leadfootmulching.com.
What matters most at Walton EMC? Reliability. With 99.99% reliability, we power lives around the clock. From investing in renewable energy to strengthening our grid, we're always working to keep your power on, even when severe weather strikes. And when it's needed, you can count on our skilled teams 24/7 to quickly restore your service. Walton EMC, investing energy in what matters most. Learn more at waltonemc.com.
Here's Evan Youngblood for Youngblood Tractor in Madison.
Did you know Youngblood Tractor is much more than just tractors? Sure, we have the biggest selection of Massey Ferguson tractors around and all the attachments you could ever need. But did you know we also carry the Kawasaki side-by-side lineup like the legendary Kawasaki Mule, Terex, and Ridge? That's Kawasaki's new cab model with heat and AC. Youngblood Tractor also carries the complete Spartan zero-turn mower lineup from residential to commercial zero-turn mowers. Combine that with our massive trailer inventory of equipment, dump, enclosed, and utility trailers, you can always build a winning combination at Youngblood Tractor right here in Madison. We also feature a full parts and service department to help maintain your equipment for years to come. Whether you're a full-time farmer, hunter, or property owner looking to maintain your land, Youngblood Tractor is here to make your next outdoor project a success. Call us today at 706-342-2242 or stop by and see us at 1600 Athens Highway in Madison or shop us 24 hours a day at youngbloodtractor.com.
And welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. Brett Molden is hanging with me today, and we've got our first guest, Alex Ward's in studio with us. In this segment, Alex, I wanted to save some time to talk about that fantastic event. You were so kind to call me and invite me to the lighting of the menorah on Wednesday night that took place in downtown Winder at Jug Tavern Park. Thank you for having me to that. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming out. It was a great turnout. So this is our third annual public menorah lighting. And the first time, though, that we got to use a new menorah that was actually purchased by the city of Winder. So Winder actually purchased a 9-foot electric display menorah, and we're able to take the bulbs out and put in some tiki torch attachments to actually do a public lighting. And I'm incredibly grateful to the city of Winder for doing that.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me. It was a great event. I know I butchered the rabbi's name. Please refresh my memory what his name is.
So the rabbi that he's from Chabad of rural Georgia.
Okay.
And he has the mandate for Barrow County. His name is Rabbi Chaim Merkovitz.
He was star of the show.
He was. He does a fantastic job. He actually comes to Barrow County once a month and does a Torah study with us for a group of us that get together and have him.
It was nice to see the support too from the community. You had well over 100 people there, and it was cold, cold evening, but it was just great to see the support, especially in light of what took place. And Brett, I know you had some questions for Alex.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my team members at work and whatnot, and we were talking about the differences between the Orthodox and the Messianic Jew. So from a Jewish person, can you explain that to the everyday listener that may not know the difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we actually have a Messianic synagogue in Barrow County. So Messianic Jews, they follow Judaism. They refer to themselves as being Jewish, but they do believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and that he will return. More traditional Jews, Orthodox being a group of that, they don't believe that the Messiah has come yet. So I classify myself as more of a conservative Jew. I don't keep kosher. I like my shellfish and shrimp too much. So I have. So I'm more conservative, but I do not believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and that the Messiah. I do believe that the Messiah will come one day, but he has not come yet. And so that's the fundamental difference between like a conservative or an Orthodox Jew versus a Messianic Jew.
Do y'all ever go visit each other's churches or synagogues?
There, especially in Barrow County, I know I've got a few folks that are follow more traditional Judaism, but they'll go to the Messianic synagogue because we don't have a traditional synagogue.
I got you.
In Barrow County.
Yeah.
If I want to go to services, I'm usually going to the Chabad at UGA, and that's where I usually go for high holiday
So they
services.
play nice with each other in Barrow County.
Yes,
They don't
yeah.
say, "Get out of here, you heathen."
No, we all try to get along.
That's good. That's good. Let's talk in light of what just took place in Bondi, Australia, the tragic, god-awful terroristic attack. I think the latest count is 15 people have lost their lives, and that number still may rise as many are still in the hospital. First thing I want to point out was the absolute stud hero that went and tackled one of the gunmen. What a guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, speaking of him, so he's actually, and this just goes to show the pervasive nature of anti-Semitism right now. He is a Muslim. The one who stopped the shooters, he is a Muslim. He is now being derided by other Muslims as a traitor.
Are you kidding
for doing
me?
that? No.
For stepping in.
For stepping in.
When you saw what he did you see the video, Brett?
Yeah.
I mean, that was just fantastic.
Yeah. And then they've had a lot, speaking about guns, right? So, the gun rights over there are not good for the citizens.
No.
So, but the police officers are the ones that are supposed to step in, and those particular police officers were standing down and cowering at times. And we love our law enforcement. We don't see them doing that here.
Sure.
But that one gentleman stood up and did what was right.
And he was not armed.
No,
he
risked his life. And
he
took
went
him down from
rugby
behind.
on him. I mean, he went in and just hit him like a linebacker does a quarterback and disarmed him.
And he was shot as well, right?
He was.
He was shot actually by the police.
Wow.
Was he shot by the police?
That is the latest that I had heard, is that he was actually shot by the police because they saw him holding the gun. So by the time they finally decided to respond, so these folks had, and they were using shotguns, and they were able to kill because they had 10 minutes of unfettered access, essentially, because of their strict gun laws. And of course, the response by the current Australian government is not to crack down on hateful rhetoric.
Oh no! The first thing he said is more gun laws.
More gun laws.
Yeah,
we're going to get stricter gun laws.
The very first thing. I mean, the bodies are still not even in the ground yet. They haven't buried them, and he's like, "Hey, we need more gun laws." Like, you kidding me? Just stunning, just stunning. Unfortunately, before you got here, Brett and I were talking about how the Trump administration was trying to withhold about $2 billion from Harvard University on the premise that they were not cracking down on the anti-Semitic events that were taking place on their campus as recently as this summer.
Correct.
I mean, this was broad daylight. This was no hidden agenda. These were students out there just absolutely pro-Palestine, hatred of Jews, hatred of Christians. And Trump said, "Hey, man, enough's enough.
Yes.
You're not going to get federal money from us."
And one of the things that I think is important for folks to understand right now is you have a lot of anti-Semites that are out there. You mentioned pro-Palestinian. Well, no, we're just anti-Zionist. There's a fundamental flaw with that argument, though. First, it's the fact that Zionism, at its core, at its root definition, is the belief in the right of the Jewish people to self-determination in their ancestral homeland. So unless you're also willing to say that the Chinese should not have a home in China, the Japanese should not have a home in Japan, the Koreans should not have, unless you're willing to say that none of those should be ethnostates either, if you are only targeting Israel, your anti-Semitism is in fact anti-Semitism.
Right.
Or your anti-Zionism, rather, is in fact anti-Semitism.
No, I appreciate the Trump administration for taking the efforts to crack down on this. It's evil on so many different levels.
Absolutely.
But and let me ask you this, I'm going to be honest with you. When I came out Wednesday to your menorah lighting, and this is the state we live in, Alex, I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm keeping an eye out. I mean, was there concern in your behalf?
We all do. I have recently purchased a bulletproof shirt that I can wear underneath all of my layers of clothes. I had that on. I was carrying. The city of Winder was kind enough to make sure that we had an officer out there. Several other officers continued to drive by multiple times. And even still, when we were packing up and a couple of the public works folks were coming around to grab the trash cans, the rabbi's wife looked at me and she was a little bit worried. And she said, who are those people? I said that they're the public works staff. So there is that, and it's sad that we have to deal with that. And
it is.
It's not just happening overseas. It's not just happening in Australia. On the same day that the Bondi Beach shooting happened, a house in California that was decorated with Hanukkah decorations was shot over 20 times, and the people that shot the house yelled "Free Palestine."
Unreal. Yep.
See, the tough thing for me is, like, when I look at it, I believe you should have freedom of religion, right? So we're arm's length away, and we believe different things. Like, I believe that Jesus has come. I believe he's my Lord and Savior. You believe differently. I want no ill will towards you, right?
Absolutely.
And that's how it should be, right? You should have the freedom of religion and however you want to pursue that. You know, I also view that the Muslims, they should have the freedom of religion the way they want to.
Sure.
But we have to be able to allow them to worship the God of their choice the way they want to. Whether I believe that it's the right religion or the wrong religion, that's your choice, but you should be able to do that freely in America how you choose.
Absolutely. Well, and going back to the leadership of Donald Trump in the Abraham Accords, you are seeing more moderate Muslim countries accepting Israel, accepting that there is and will be a Jewish state in the Middle East. primary one is United Arab Emirates. It is anti-Semitism is actually illegal in the UAE, and so they are cracking down on the intolerance of the Jewish people in their country because they're starting to realize that there is a benefit to partnering with Israel and the Jewish state.
Well, and going back to the Harvard deal, what my beef is with this, Brett, is do what you want to do. If that's what your students, like I said, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, but you don't get federal state dollars.
Yeah.
We're not going to fund this. It's simple as that. All right, folks. These segments go quick, don't they, Alex?
They do.
You listen to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation.
Oh, Georgia. I was sitting on the corner selling some watermelons. Georgia on my mind, watching the sunset. Just relaxing, enjoying the breeze on my tailgate. Under the shade of a pine tree, we got alligators and homegrown tomatoes. We got rattlesnakes and truckloads of potatoes. Cornfields far as the naked eye can see. Hot sandy beaches and sweet Georgia peaches. We like shotguns and fishing and having fun. Making the river run when the work's all done. Come on, if I said it, son, you can believe it. Come on, we don't bow to nobody but Jesus. Lend a hand when you can, if somebody needs us. Boy, down here we got some big old mosquitoes. So if you ever in my neck of the woods, swing on in, come see us. Tell me something good. I got Georgia on my mind. Where I live, I work, I play like all the time. We're down in Georgia, ain't hard to find. All the macros and small town is always on my mind.
Roots are crowing at the break of dawn. Hot cup of coffee, time to take it on. Got a good feeling and it can't be wrong. It's a brand new day, I'ma make my song. Only one red light in a one-horse town. Don't underestimate the country folk, they sure get down now. Sand gnats make you tip your hat, but mama's fried chicken, what you know about that? We got blue skies, tractors and hay rides. We like moonlight shining through the pines. Always stand for the flag and salute the troops, cause freedom ain't free and now that's the truth. We like flip-flops, sunshine and sweet tea. Raindrops, fresh crops and honeybees. Been a lot of places, met some mighty fine folks. This is home sweet home and that's all she wrote.
To Georgia, all the way down in Georgia. No, we ain't hard to find. Hey, them back roads in these small towns is always on my mind. Take me way down to Georgia, all the way down in Georgia. That's where I live my life. Hey, where I was born, where I was raised, and someday where I plan to die. I got Georgia on my mind. Where I live, I work, I play like all the time. We're down in Georgia, ain't hard to find. All the macros and small town is always on my mind.
Real country. This is Q92.3 WMOQ FM, Bostwick, Monroe, Madison. Your home for real country.
Affordable housing is just around the corner at Cimarron Park. Cimarron Park is a mobile community located on Harry Arnold Road, just off of Highway 78 in Monroe, that offers 2 and 3 bedroom homes with spacious wooded lots, lit streets, and a family-friendly atmosphere. Some homes are for sale with available financing. Call James for all the details. 404-401-1068. That's 404-401-1068. Or go to CimarronPark.com.
I've got to tell you about the best kept secret in Monroe for electric wholesale supply, Allen's Electric. Family owned and operated since 1972, Allen's Electric offers a complete line of electrical supply, wiring, breakers, bulbs, heating elements, electric motors, light fixtures, and so much more. Located at 925 West Spring Street in Monroe, stop by and see Brian and Cindy, in business for over 50 years. That's Allen Electric Supply, 770-267-5572.
When you walk through the doors of Campton Restaurant, you're not just here for a meal, you're part of a tradition. I'm Josh Parker, fourth generation owner, and for nearly 40 years, families in Walton County and surrounding areas have gathered around our tables to share stories, laughter, and good Southern cooking. From crispy fried chicken to heart-healthy daily specials, there's always a plate waiting with your name on it. We're open Mondays for lunch and Tuesday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays. So come on by, make yourself at home, and experience Campton Restaurant, where family tradition meets every meal.
Pony Express Liquidators is the place to visit before you make any purchase if you're remodeling or building a new home. They have great deals on just about everything you'll need and up to 50% off the big box stores. Bathroom vanities, bathroom sinks and kitchen sinks, windows, hardware, and still-in-the-box doors and screen doors. Now that's what I was looking for. 2 locations to serve you, 361 Fundenberg Drive in Monticello or Highway 11 in Mansfield.
Get a great deal on a Kubota tractor, built to work, built to last, and as dependable as you are. Right now, write it off the lot and write it off your taxes with 0 down, 5.49% APR up to 84 months, plus instant cash discount and 2 years orange protection warranty. Now through December 31st. Consult your tax advisor. Details at KubotaUSA.com.
Your Kubota dealer is Hayes Tractor, 545 Highway 11 South and Social Circle. Go to HayesTractor.com. Roll-Off Systems of Statham, they're on a roll. They offer dumpsters in all sizes, trash compactors, porta potties, and new combo cans. Existing sites are new building sites. Trash and waste disposal, it's their business. Locally owned and operated. Call Roll-Off Systems today. 770-725-ROLL. That's 770-725-ROLL. Or go to rolloffsystems.com.
And welcome back, Marc McMain, Brett Molden. Brett, I saved the second hour to discuss a couple of things that I know that are imperatively important to both you and I, and that is being a husband and being a father. So we're going to start off with being a dad first, because as the old saying goes, when you have children, they say there are no manuals on how to raise kids. I'm sure there's tons of books that somebody's written, but I didn't read any of them. Did you get any of those books prior to?
I'm sure I was told to read it by my beautiful, lovely, very well-read wife.
Yes.
But I did not dive into those the way I probably should have.
Well, my first entry into being a father, so Liliana and I were married for about 3 years before we have kids. And I for us, looking back, I don't want to say that any of this next segment will be advice. It's just we're going to share with what our experiences were. So we waited 3 years to have kids, and it worked really good for us. It allowed us to kind of build a nest egg. It allowed us to, and again, we're a little bit different situation, Brett, because when Liliana and I met, we met on the beach in Cancun, and I traveled to Mexico quite a bit as I was courting her. So when we actually got married was the first time we were in each other's presence for hours and days on end, if that makes sense. So we took the first 3 years to really get to know ourselves and save money and just kind of establish our foundation, which was fantastic. And then we had our first son. And I remember when Matthew was born, I'd already had it worked out with Liliana that I don't do dirty dishes, right? So I've never had to clean a dirty dish in my life. I cook, but I never had to clean a dirty dish. Well, she put an end to, she thought I was going to get away with not having to change diapers. She squashed that immediately. The nurse was ready for me.
We got married. She was straight out of college, right? So I was 24. She was 21. We were both hard-headed kids from two different two different family dynamics, and we butt heads a lot. And we would joke around that we waited until I was 30 to have our first child because we needed to make sure we were going to stay married by then. It was that confrontational at times, but it took some strong Christian mentors that poured into our lives that were down the road a little while. to explain to us about, hey, you can't go 50% and hope the other person goes 50%. Yeah. You have to go 100%, and you have to be willing to go 100%. And what we found is that she was going 100%, and then I was going 100% too, and we met in the middle somewhere, what we thought was 100%. And, it really saved our marriage doing it sacrificial love, right?
Yeah.
I was taught by somebody, they said, listen, the first week of marriage, screw up everything you can that she asked you to do. Do the laundry wrong.
You don't get asked to do it again.
Yes. But, what I found is in my house, I do the dishes, right?
She's such a good guy.
She's a phenomenal cook.
Don't tell Liliana that you do the dishes.
No, that's the least I could do. She's a phenomenal cook. She takes care of the house. She takes care of the kids. I mean, we've been through some tough trials, man. She was, at the time I was in construction during the Great Recession, and she got laid off 8.5 months pregnant.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Man.
And she has not had a 9-to-5 job ever since. Okay, God's just made a way for us. But it has been, learning to lean into God and trusting that, His way is the best way. And she's been able to stay with the kids and pour into their lives and do things that we never thought possible by society's standards. And He's always made a way for us.
I look back at our we've been married 28 years. We talked about that earlier. The interesting thing for us is we have been self-employed for most of that 28 years.
And there's no stress in self-employment, right?
Oh, mercy. It starts in the morning and carries all the way through the evening. And Brett, I've seen it, destroy marriages.
Yeah.
Right? And businesses are very stressful. And it's just worked for us. And what's interesting for me is that we start off the day together. We have breakfast together, and we may go our own way to do various tasks or odds and ends, but we're spending the entire day together because we run this business together. And then at the end of the day, we're back and we're having dinner, and now it's social time, right? Or you may have somebody over as a guest, whatever it may be. And we're never, or at least on my side, we're never tired of each other, right? There's always this, we look forward to spending those moments with each other. And like you said, you have your times where you butt heads or things aren't going quite as planned. That's just life. That's all part of it. But, to have that relationship where you are always looking forward to interacting with your spouse that is what God intended.
Yeah. And people ask me all the time, like, what do you do for fun? I was like, I love being home with my family. Like, that's what I enjoy.
Yeah.
I love sitting, sometimes my son will be playing video games, and I just sit on the couch with him and cut up and mess with him and just chat, because that's how he wants to engage, right? I coach my 2 girls in different basketball leagues. Like, that's how I engage with them, and they love that quality time. I mean, kids will take quantity over quality, because to them that quality or that quantity is quality time.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So just focusing on, like, even if you don't think it means something to you, right? I mean, I say that. Hear what I'm saying. Like, if you don't think it's a big life moment, they just want your time.
That's right.
To them, that is a memorable moment they're going to write in their, in their journals or whatnot, and remember for a long time.
That was another blessing that we had, is I was able to spend a lot of time with my boys when they were younger. And again, part of this became because of the flexibility of being self-employed, where you don't have to ask off, hey, there's a soccer game, there's a soccer practice. I didn't have to ask somebody off for work, right? So I was able to go and do that. The flip side of that is now I'm going to be working until midnight that night, ready to play catch-up for what I didn't do that day. And I look back, going back to our boys, the advantage I had of being able to spend time with them, coaching them in soccer, participating in their school events, just being there for them. But it goes so quick. So you and I talked about in the break, my boys are 24, 22. Your kids are 14 and 12. So you're about 10 years.
14, 11, and 9.
14, 11. That's what you got you got a youngin'.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're about 10, 15 years behind us. Are you starting to see how quickly that time evaporates, the time with your kids?
Oh, man, I look at pictures sometimes. So being self-employed, yes, it gives you flexibility, but there's also times where there were high-stress moments where I was working 80 hours a week. And this is not a woe is me segment, right? But I look at those pictures and the times that we were struggling and hustling. And, during the Great Recession, me and Candace, we were, she didn't have a 9-to-5, but she had 2 part-time jobs she was working, right? And I was working 3 jobs. And, between the the two of us, we're high-fiving in a hallway, handing kids off.
Yeah, right.
And I look back at the pictures, and it's hard for me not to get emotional because I feel like I missed out on so much of that time.
Yeah, right.
And I heard somebody say, he said, it's only the good parents that are upset that they feel like they didn't spend enough time with them, that they didn't dive in as much. And there's times when I look back and I'm thinking, did I do a good enough job loving on you? Did I do a good enough job being the solid parent that you needed? Because there's times where you look back and you think, I was so engulfed making sure we got the bills paid. And I had, we have 50 people that work for us. Those are 50 individual families.
Counting
Each one of them average 2 kids, right?
Right.
So, I mean, you're responsible for 200 people, and there's a lot of pressure that goes into that.
It's whether you're self-employed or not, again, we talked about there's no manual, there's no right way, there's no perfect way to raise kids, there's no perfect way to be a father, right? So there's things that you strive for. Obviously, you put Christ first, and I tell people, boy, you do that. If you put God first, it solves a lot of the problems beneath you, right? So you put Christ first, you put your wife second, and then your kids, you focus on them. It's going to work out. You're not going to have perfect moments. And I guess for me, again, going back to the stressor points, my boys will joke about it today, Brett. My deal was I would be sitting in the office. Let's say I'm on the phone with a client. My kids would come in to say, hey, Dad, I got a question about homework. And I would put my finger up and I go, I'd do this real hardcore, hard stop, right?
Yeah.
And that was a visceral moment for them because it kind of shocked them, right? Seeing Dad being a jerk. But to this day, they joke about it, right?
Yeah.
But it told me, ooh, that was something in my mind. I'm like, hey, dude, just don't bother me right now. But in their mind, Dad's being a jerk. So, you're going to have those things. That's stress.
Well, and you would have, there's been many heated, loving conversations between me and my amazing wife, who's probably listening right now, that, she would say, well, that's more important than us. And I'm like, but it's not. Okay?
Sure.
As a God-fearing man, my job is to provide for you. And in order for me to do what God has called me to do, to be a protector and a provider for my family, I do have to prioritize this in certain times. This is not a priority over you, but in that moment, in order for me to provide for you later, I do have to carve out this section of time. And sometimes that time, it cuts into...
You have to make a sacrifice.
Yeah, and it's not planned times at certain increments, right? It's not like that all the time.
Right.
But when it is, I do have to make sure I carve out that time so that I can make sure that I do what God's called me to do for you.
And there'll be a reward for that at some point down the road, too, by making that sacrifice. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Brett Molden and I are talking about marriage, being a father, being a husband. When we come back, we will continue this conversation.
Looking for that perfect piece of jewelry designed just for you? At P&A Jewelers, family owned since 1976, we've been helping our customers shine for nearly 50 years. Now proudly run by second-generation brother and sister team, we specialize in custom jewelry design, expert repair work, and fine jewelry for every occasion. Visit P&A Jewelers, where family tradition sparkles. Located in Loganville beside Quick Trip, or online at shoppajewelers.com. Follow us on Facebook to see what's new.
Hey y'all, it's Bethany at Willfully Guided Co. Boots and Western Apparel. Whether you're on the job site, in the barn, or out on the town, we've got the perfect boots for every occasion. From rugged work boots to stylish fashion picks, let us outfit the entire family from head to toe. Come see us at 116 South Broad Street, right in the heart of beautiful downtown Monroe. Willfully Guided Co. Boots and Western Apparel, your local family-owned destination for the finest boots and apparel around.
Are you considering selling your house or land, or perhaps finding your dream home? Call Stacy McCullers, your trusted real estate expert with 12 years of experience and a lifelong connection to Walton County. Stacy is here to help you every step of the way. Whether you're buying or selling, she's available anytime to make your real estate journey smooth and successful. Don't wait. Call today, 678-859-6336. A member of Malcolm & Malcolm Realty Professionals, Stacy McCullers, your realtor for life.
What matters most at Walton EMC? Reliability. With 99.99% reliability, we power lives around the clock. From investing in renewable energy to strengthening our grid, we're always working to keep your power on, even when severe weather strikes. And when it's needed, you can count on our skilled teams 24/7 to quickly restore your service. Walton EMC, investing energy in what matters most. Learn more at waltonemc.com.
Welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. My guest is Brett Malden. We're talking about our failures as fathers and as husbands, or at least our attempts to not be failures, but we all fall short every day. It's part of it. Brett, let's talk going back to raising kids, in my case, 2 boys. No manual. You're out there. You're doing the best you can. You've got your career. You've got your marriage. You've got your boys. You're trying to be sure that you're being a good role model for them, instill good principles. I remember at a young age when my kids were like 3 and 4, I'm already talking to them about, being good men, just being noble and just doing the right thing. There's a funny little story, though, that I wanted to share with the listeners, that I really botched something at an early age. So Liliana and I knew at some point we're going to have the good old conversation with the boys about the birds and the bees, right? And I felt that when that time would come, I had something queued up really, really good. And so sure enough, Matthew is probably, I'm going to guess he was 6 years old, and Marcus would have been 4. And Liliana comes to me one day and she says, hey, Matthew was getting some bad intel for some kids at school on the process of reproduction. And she says, you need to go ahead and have your conversation with Matthew. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. I've got it queued up in my head. I've been rehearsing this for the past year or two. So I pick him up from school, and he's in the back, and I think he's still in a car seat at this time, and I've got the rear view mirror adjusted so I can look at him. I'm making eye contact with my son, and I'm delivering this message that is just, I think I'm killing it, right? I'm spot on. I'm talking about stuff, and I'm even getting a little bit, I don't want to say graphic, but I'm kind of going into some details, just explaining some things, because he had questions, right? And he got a line of bad information, so I'm straightening all this out, and probably it's a 5 or 7 minute dissertation that I'm giving on the birds and the bees. And I hear this voice, this squeaky voice, say, you did that to mommy? Ooh. And I forgot my 4-year-old son, Marcus, was in the car too. And Marcus is the wisecracker, right? And Brett, when I tell you I forgot that he was in the car, I honestly forgot that the 4-year-old was in the car. And I probably went a little bit deeper than the 4-year-old needed to hear. So the birds and the bees deal, I think I fumbled that one.
Yeah, made an awkward dinner and bedtime that night. So. Yeah, he's never going to look mom the same way.
No. And I look back and it's like, the speech is probably really geared towards an 8 or 10-year-old. Matthew can handle it at 6, but definitely not 4-year-old Marcus. But these are things that you do as a father, right? You prepare the best you can, and you think you're ready for something, and then it doesn't go right, or you don't handle a stressful situation the way that you could. And what I found, even when I botched something with the boys, when I got overstressed, when I got mad at them when I shouldn't have, I never had a problem going back into the bedroom at night and say, hey, Dad screwed up today.
And I had a mentor that would say, like, I called him one time, and it was like I was just way too tough on the kids, and I was like, man, I really messed up today. I really screwed up. This is what I said. He's like, what did you do after that? I was like, what? He said, what did you do after that? I said, well, I went in there and I apologized and said, this is unacceptable that I acted like that. He said, they will remember that more than if you had never screwed up. Because if you never screw up, you're perfect.
Yeah.
But they'll see that you're going to screw up, and you have to be man, or in 2 of my children's way, woman enough to admit fault and be able to show and be willing to see grace and mercy and love. And that's how it works out most. I guarantee you that Matthew and Marcus were, they may be upset from that conversation, but I bet they've seen multiple times when as a man, when you went to them and you admitted fault, that they are so appreciative, so that one day they're going to be able to do that with their kids.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it, is saying, hey, being able to identify, okay, I did not do that the right way, and I need a redo. And kids are so forgiving, right? They really are. As a parent, as a father, we are supposed to provide. We're supposed to guide. I think the other thing too is we talked about this a second ago, being involved. I don't know that there's anything more rewarding, Brett, than coaching kids in their sports.
Oh yeah.
Being on the sidelines with them.
Yeah, and so I think sometimes your kids, when you're involved in their life, they take for granted the fact that that you're there. And there's a lot of people that don't have a strong male figure or a strong parental figure in their lives. I have found so much joy in coaching my kids, but because I'm doing that, I'm also getting to coach. I mean, over the last probably 2 decades, I've coached probably 200 to 300 kids, and been able to pour in their lives. And, I had a conversation with some of the boys. So, quick story, my middle child's 11 years old, and she's a phenomenal basketball player. There were some certain circumstances that we ended up choosing to have her play on the boys' team this year in the rec department. And it's challenging her to be stronger and more physical and a better player. And that was the best decision for us. And getting to pour into these kids. There's 2 of them. There's several of them that are phenomenal basketball players, and I've pulled them aside and said, "Listen, my job with you is not to teach you how to be a better dribbler or a better shooter. You probably have coaches that are already doing that. I'm going to challenge you to be a better leader, okay? A force multiplier, like Kirby Smart, right? So you have all these other coaches that get up there and they coach, and they're good recruiters and they're good coaches. Well, when they get with Kirby Smart, though, he demands excellence from them, and because of that, it makes them even better." Right, so we talk about the force multiplier with becoming that much better. So these kids are watching how you respond verbally, non-verbally, how you lift them up.
Yep.
And your job is not to score a bunch of points. It's not to be out there dribbling the best, doing the best passes. Your job is to be a leader this year. I don't care if we win a single game. My job is to make sure I pull the most out of you. And with our kids, right, it's devastating when we see them becoming independent. Right, so any parents out there, this is what I want you to think about. Challenge your way to think about this. We had a mentor that challenged us about this. We hate to see them become independent because they don't need us, but the way that we know we've become the best parent is when they become independent and don't need us.
That's right.
We don't want kids that are having to rely on us, that we have to enable the rest of their lives. We want to create people that are going to be world changers and go make a difference in society and not be leeches.
That's exactly. They want to contribute. It's vitally important. And I'll add to that. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Brett Malden is our guest. I'll add to that, Brett, that even when your kids grow up, I still am not done parenting. You're no longer in that mode of being dad all the time and guiding them, right? Because they're on their own. They're doing their own thing. But there still is nothing more rewarding than having your sons come home, even at my boy's age, say, "Dad, I need your advice on something," right? So they don't need me to govern their lives. They don't need me to micromanage what they're doing. But I love when they come home and say, "Hey, Dad, something I got to pick your brain on." But that makes my weekend.
So how big of an honor, you just answered a little bit about that, but how big of an honor is that for you to know that you've guided them well enough that they trust your guidance?
Yeah.
That they're asking more and more and more. Like, how does that, dive into that for a second. Tell me how that makes you feel.
Well, it's incredible because, and keep in mind, in the late teens, that can be a struggle, right? Because all of a sudden there's that independence that you're starting to see, especially from boys, right? Where they don't want dad's advice all the time, and you kind of have that headbutting deal. Then they graduate from college, they're on their career, and all of a sudden there's this awakening in them and say, hey, even though we had this incredible relationship, and sometimes I didn't listen to Dad. Dad was right. And so, and that's not what you're looking for as a father, right? It's not vindication. It's just like, hey, I want to be sure that door's open so that if you have a problem, you're comfortable enough to come to me. And I absolutely love that. It's something that, to know that I'm still a point of, or a resource for the boys even into their 20s, and I hope I'm a resource for them into their 30s and 40s, and when they have children and when they get married, and they can come to me with those types of questions as well. It's not going to be daily or weekly. It might be once or twice a year, but to have them say, hey, Dad, I still recognize you as an authority on this, where do I go with this?
So when they start going down the wrong path and you notice that, how hard is it to bite your tongue when they haven't asked your advice yet?
I think for me as a parent, my style is, Liliana and I are a little bit different on this. She's a little bit more, I think, involved day to day, where I will say, hey, let's pump the brakes. Let's give them some room to fail. But I also don't have any qualms of addressing something that I see, even at this age now, right? You'll still interject and say things. But there is tremendous value in also, Brett, letting your kids fail, right? Letting them do their thing. Because if you're constantly in that guardrail mode, or that helicopter parent mode, as they like to call it, then I think you provide a false safety net for them that isn't always going to be there.
And you talk about sports already. To go back to that, I learned more from quote-unquote failing in sports. The losses that I had pushed me to work harder. Right? It wasn't the wins, it wasn't the trophies, it wasn't the championships. When I failed, it pushed me to want to do better.
Yeah.
And I saw a quote one time, and it was, a good father is the only man in the world that wants his son to do better than he does.
Think of that. Yeah.
And I look at my dad, he's that way, right? He's laid a great foundation, but he will be the first one to correct somebody if they start giving him praise instead of me for something, right? But again, because of that honor and that love I have for him, I build him up, and I make sure that people understand, like, he's the foundation. He is the one that did X, Y, and Z.
I want my boys to do better so I can start getting those paychecks, Brett.
That's right.
They owe Dad a little bit of royalties or commissions on this great foundation I gave them. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. We'll be back in just a minute.
If you're in the construction business, you're going to need a dumpster at some point in time, and that's why you need to call Atha Equipment Rental in Monroe, now offering 20 and 30-yard cans. Atha Equipment Rental now offers a complete line of landscape and construction equipment like tools, trenchers, floor sanders, jackhammers, and so much more, like rentals for your parties with tables, chairs, popcorn machines, Dunkin' booths, and more. Call Jason Atha at 770-207-6041. That's Atha Equipment Rental on East Spring Street in Monroe.
This Christmas shopping season, give the gift of outdoors from Outdoor Specialty, serving Watkinsville and the surrounding area since 2002 with a wide variety of plants, trees, shrubs, ground cover, and more. Plus, you'll find a full line of irrigation supplies like sprinkler heads, pipe replacement parts, and more. Add some beauty to someone's home with a huge selection of pottery, landscape stones, mulch, and more. In the garden center, see their great selection of bird houses, bird feeders, and don't forget the Coles bird seed. The deer love Christmas too. Be sure to pick up some of Elsie's apple-flavored deer corn. This Christmas, stop in and say hello to Elsie, Diane, and their friendly staff at Outdoor Specialty, 1460 Greensboro Highway in Watkinsville. Wishing you and your family the very best this Christmas season. Call 706-769-8737 or go to OutdoorSpecialtyNursery.com.
Are you looking for custom t-shirts, golf shirts, or uniforms for yourself or work? What about a family reunion, a fundraiser, or sports team? Whatever you're looking for, Chris and Debbie at Blue Hound in Monroe can help you. Real Country uses Blue Hound for our golf shirts and t-shirts. They do quality work and they're great folks. Blue Hound is located at 111 East Washington Street in Monroe. Go by and see what they can do for you or call 404-307-3664. That's 404-307-3664. Tell them April sent you.
I know it's getting cold, but Loganville Ford is heating things up. That's right, Loganville Ford is turning up the heat with the year-end sales event. We've got a full lot with thousands and thousands of dollars off brand new Fords. If you're looking for reliability and value, check out our lineup of Ford certified pre-owned vehicles. All inspected, road tested, so you can drive with confidence. But hurry, when the clock hits midnight on December 31st, these deals will melt away. Loganville Ford, big savings, hot deals, even in the cold.
Serving Loganville and the surrounding area for over 25 years, it's the Main Street Barbershop, 305 Main Street next to Braxton's Auction in downtown Loganville, offering old-fashioned service and modern-day styles. Appointments available and walk-ins welcome. Open Tuesday through Saturday with a friendly staff and atmosphere. That's Main Street Barbershop in downtown Loganville. Call 770-554-3300 or go to mainstreetbarberloganville.com to learn more.
And And welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. I've got Brett Malden here visiting with us today. Brett, do you think our wives are listening to us, critiquing us, taking notes?
She's probably taking notes to be able to argue with me later that what you said.
They're keeping score. You know that, right?
100%.
So, going back to the conversation, and we can continue talking about kids, but going back to the wife conversation, I think as a husband, obviously so much emphasis is placed on being a provider and guiding the family. And I look at, where were some of the challenges that we had, and Liliana did an incredible job, I think, of pushing this, where I think guys are prone to shutting down when things don't go right, right? When there's a problem. At least that's the way I am. So I internalize, right? So if something's going on, I might get upset, but then I go and I internalize. And Liliana has done a good job of being sure that her and I are communicating through, what took place. And I think that if you are able to continue that in a relationship, if you're able to voice whatever your concerns are, and it may not be something within your relationship, it may be an external force that is a problem, but if you're able to talk about it, you're always going to find your wife's going to be there and she's going to be backing you up. And that goes a long way.
Well, and, think about your friendships and in sports and whatnot. The ones that went through the most end up being the strongest together, right? So as a early, younger couple, dealing with, my wife's had some trauma in her life, and it was very difficult for us as a young married couple.
Yeah.
But being able to go through that with her made us stronger now, makes us appreciate where we are now. I mean, I remember when we got married, we were living in a garage apartment.
Yeah.
We got back from our honeymoon, and I want to say we had less than $100 in the bank, but rent was paid for that month.
Think about that.
And, they say that's one of the main indicators of success is the person that you married and how they back you.
Oh, yeah. That's it. And I think for somebody like myself, and I know you're the same way, I have an entrepreneurial spirit, so I have a tolerance for risk, right? There's things that I'm willing to do. I'm willing to put some things on the line to advance myself, and having paired with somebody like Liliana who doesn't just say, yeah, go for it. She gets behind me and she pushes me, right? That is huge. And that's not for everybody, right? Because there's some people out there that and I tell my boys, you got to be sure that you marry somebody that shares your vision. Because if your vision is to grow industry and to be a leader in your field and to be a pioneer, and your wife's vision is, hey, look, I'm content with, a different lifestyle, you may have some issues there. And I've seen that manifest in relationships where you have one of the two is like, hey, man, I'm shooting for the stars. And the other one says, no, man, I want to stay right where we're at.
Yeah. And having a supportive spouse doesn't mean you're both alike. Like we were in counseling one time, and I was telling the pastor, I was like, she doesn't look at it like this. I mean, she looks at it different than me, and this and that and the other. And guys out there, if you're listening, just think about this. The pastor looked at me and says, if both of you are just alike, one of you isn't needed.
That's a good way of putting it.
And I was like, well, yeah, but this and this and this. And he's like, no, she's not going to, opposites attract for a reason, because it makes you more. So I'm a natural saver. She's a natural spender. But with me, I wouldn't live life to the fullest without her, and she wouldn't have money. We'd be living off of Alpo in our retirement if it weren't for me thinking ahead.
So you got that balance,
and neither way is right?
That's right.
Not 100%, but knowing that we have, like you said, that balance to make sure we pull out the best of each other. And where a lot of conflict and strife comes is when we don't recognize the balance. And we think that we are the barometer of success, and our way is the only way that's right. But I look at it that she challenges how I look at certain things, and I respect that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's it. It's that willingness for your spouse to say, hey, you know what? This is really what I see. I'm in lockstep with you on most everything, but here's where you're wrong. And then it makes you sit back and say, oh, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. And, of course, Liliana loves hearing when she says, I was wrong. And I don't say it that much, but you know what? She definitely is the beacon in that relationship.
Well, I had a guy tell me one time, he said, Brett, were you good at baseball? I was like, I was pretty good. I wasn't the best hitter, right? He said, well, could you hit a fastball? I was like, yeah, sooner or later I could time that fastball.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, all it is speed your bat up a little bit. He said, what about curveballs? I was like, well, they were a little bit tougher. He's like, why was that? I was like, well, it looked like a fastball, and then it was something completely different. He's like, that's what marriage can be at times, Brett. It looks like one thing, but it's something completely different. So what you're arguing about isn't what you're actually arguing about. Whether it's her or you're upset about something at work, so you snap about something.
Yep.
That was your curveball. You threw to her.
Yeah.
And, it did help me, funny, as we were a young married couple. She came in there one time and she's like, Brett, you left your shoes in the middle of the hallway and I almost tripped and broke my neck. I was like, what's this really about, Candace? She's like, it's about your shoes in the middle of the hallway where I almost broke my neck. And I was like, well, let's dive into this. It's something while you were a child. She's like, never mind. And she slams the door. I was like, well, that worked. The argument's over.
I wonder if I could try this, because I just left my shoes in the hallway the other night, Brett, and I got chewed out for. So I'm going to try that one tonight if that works.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now I think she would just swing a pot or a pan at me.
Yeah. No, when I leave stuff around the house too, I try to be conscientious of the fact that she does keep a tidy house, and she is fantastic because she does a lot of stuff in addition to helping with the business or participating in the business with me. But there are times that I don't know what it is. Sometimes it's like I just set stuff down and move on, especially my plates. But see, I cook, Brett. I do cook. And I can grill like nobody's business. So that's my out on doing dishes. There's something about wet bread that makes me sick. I can't touch a dirty dish. That's my pet peeve. I can wipe a dirty diaper. I can pick dog poop up off the ground. But don't ask me to clean a dirty dish. I don't know what it is. It's going to make my stomach turn. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Brett Malden and I are getting crazy talking about some unbelievable stuff. Brett, let's go back to kids for just a second. The moments where you have these tense arguments with a spouse and you have children watching this, they're studying. They're seeing everything that takes place. And Liliana and I, again, by no means are we perfect, but we do pride ourselves in those moments were few and far between where they saw mom and dad, really upset with each other, at least vociferously, right, in a demonstrative way. And I look back on my childhood and my mom and dad, who are both alive. They are divorced, but they actually get along great. But they had very tumultuous times in their marriage that I was witness to. And I remember my mom saying, hey, look, your job is to take the best qualities from me and the best qualities of your father and advance those. Mm-hmm. And I never forget that, and do your best to not do the dumb things that we did, right? And and so that's something that I've always tried to do, and I try to identify. And then all of a sudden what happens is you get older. Now my boy's in their 20s. Every now and then I'll see some little things that pop up. Maybe it's the temper side of the world or the lack of patience that I demonstrated with the kids manifesting in themselves. And I'll try to remind them, it's like, hey, that wasn't my best quality. Remember that. You saw dad getting impatient in traffic, or you saw dad losing his temper when something, maybe something financially took place and dad got upset. Don't continue with that. And so that goes back to my comment about, even though my boys are in their early 20s, I'm still not done being a dad and teaching them. Mm-hmm. And some parents don't take that approach. Some parents are like, hey, you turned 18, you're on your own, figure it out from there.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm helicopter. I'm not there, grinding the wheels, but it's just, I'm not afraid to throw in little tidbits here and there and say.
My wife had a mentor one time, and I know we talk about mentors all the time. I strongly encourage people to find somebody that is further advanced in something and learn from them. It's way easier to learn from other people's mistakes and their journey than having to go through it yourself. And she would always talk about it being a sand for people, right? So sand is not only can it be sandpaper to take off the rough edges, but sand can also be a soft place to land. So understanding when somebody has rough edges they need to take off and become better at something, but also be there to catch them when they're in a hard spot, right? Yeah. And I had somebody, when I look at my parents would never argue. I think I've seen them argue 5 times in my whole life. But what that didn't teach me is conflict resolution with your significant other.
Yeah.
Where when I first went to Candace's family home from college one weekend, I went up there and they argued like so much that I went to her and said, hey, I think are you okay? Because your parents are about to get a divorce. She's like, oh, no, this is normal. I was like, this is anything but normal.
Yeah,
right. But one of the things that I learned was that what you do as a man, it it shows your son what to replicate and your daughters what to accept. So if I'm going to talk to their mother in a certain way, then my son is going to think that that's how he should duplicate and replicate to his spouse one day, my future daughter-in-law.
Yep.
And it allows my daughters what to think is acceptable from their future husbands.
She's willing to tolerate that.
Oh, my God. And if I heard somebody talking to my daughters the way that I, unfortunately, losing my cool, I'm not talking about verbally abusive or anything like that.
Right.
Just raising my voice and being angry at times. If I heard somebody speak to my daughters like that, how would I react?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my Lord. I just showed them that's acceptable, and that's not.
No, and I think that's the biggest part, is always understanding you are not always going to deliver it correctly, right? Something isn't always going to come out the way that you expect it to, and you're going to look back and you say, man, I wish you would have handled that differently. And it's being willing to, A, identify that you did it wrong, B, apologize, work it out, and C, figure out, hey, how do I not do that again? Right? How do I handle this better the next time? And like I said, folks, there is no manual. There's no manual on marriage. There's no manual on raising kids. There's plenty of books out there. And, my biggest thing is put Christ first. That is like the best first step that you can have in a relationship, in a marriage, with raising your children. And then just work hard to be present, be there. It's, we could talk for days on ends about this, and nobody has done it perfectly. Nobody. It's up for us to figure out how we can do it the best that we can and hopefully have great results. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Christmas, and Chastity has some neat things queued up for us as far as what's coming up after the first of the year. Stick around.
Foy Tree Service, a name and business you have trusted for many years, is proud to announce Foy Septic Service, offering septic tank pumping, repairs, installs, and more, serving Morgan County, Lake Oconee, and the surrounding area. It's recommended that your septic tank be pumped and serviced every 3 to 5 years, depending on your septic tank system. That's Foy Septic Service, locally owned and operated. Call Brandon at 706-319-2997.
Make holiday memories this year. Gather your family and friends and go to Berry's Tree Farm in Covington. There's nothing like choosing and cutting down your own tree for Christmas. Berry's Tree Farm has Leland cypress, Carolina sapphire, Virginia pine, cedar, and fresh cut Fraser fir. For the kids, they have train rides and snow flocking is available. Call 770-786-5833. Located off I-20 exit 88 in Covington. Don't forget to visit Santa's Workshop for your fresh wreaths, garland, and tree stands. 770-786-5833 or go to www.berrystreefarm.com.
Youngblood Tractor in Madison is proud to be your local Massey Ferguson dealer. Massey Ferguson has been building straightforward, dependable, and affordable tractors and farm equipment for 175 years. Massey Ferguson right now has the best lineup in their 175-year history, and there has never been a better time to upgrade to a Massey Ferguson tractor. Youngblood Tractor carries the complete lineup of Massey Ferguson tractors, ranging from the 22.5 horsepower subcompact all the way up to the 130 horsepower mid-range utility tractor. And with one of the largest trailer inventories in the state, you'll always have a way to get it home. Youngblood Tractor also carries the complete lineup of hay equipment, including the legendary Massey Ferguson 1840 square baler, as well as implements like rotary cutters, batwing cutters, box blades, grapples, pallet forks, and more. There are great financing promotions to take advantage of, so give us a call today at 706-342-2242. Youngblood Tractor also has experienced parts and service departments to take care of you after the sale. Visit us online at www.youngbloodtractor.com or stop by and see us at 1600 Athens Highway in Madison.
This Christmas shopping season, give the gift of outdoors from Outdoor Specialty, serving Watkinsville and the surrounding area since 2002 with a wide variety of plants, trees, shrubs, ground cover, and more. Plus, you'll find a full line of irrigation supplies like sprinkler heads, pipe replacement parts, and more. Add some beauty to someone's home with a huge selection of pottery, landscape stones, mulch, and more. In the Garden Center, see their great selection of bird houses, bird feeders, and don't forget the Coles bird seed. The deer love Christmas too. Be sure to pick up some of Elsie's apple-flavored deer corn. This Christmas, stop in and say hello to Elsie, Diane, and their friendly staff at Outdoor Specialty, 1460 Greensboro Highway in Watkinsville. Wishing you and your family the very best this Christmas season. Call 706-769-8737 or go to OutdoorSpecialtyNursery.com.
And welcome back, Marc McMain, Brett Malden, Chastity Stewart. We talked about at the beginning, Chastity, were you all ready to get your Christmas shopping done? It turns out that it looks like because of inflation, some higher interest rates, that consumer sentiment is a little bit down. So I don't know if this is going to be quite the holiday year. It's still projected to exceed $1 trillion in total retail sales. But I don't know if that number is off a bit or not. Let's face it, it's inflation. Brett talked about it a second ago. Tariffs. I mean, it's put a dent in things.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Tough on families.
Yeah, families may not have quite as much money to spend this season, but you know what? There's still good ways to do things for people. If you're in a financial situation where you cannot afford to buy gifts, there's other things that you can do. Gifts can come in the form of actions. They can come in the form of prayers, and I think. Christmas has become so focused around gifts, I think we kind of lose sight of what the real reason is, right?
Mm-hmm. It's the smallest gestures that really make a big difference.
Well, and as you celebrate the birth of Christ, this is we all love. I think a demonstrative way of showing our love for somebody is to give somebody gifts, right? There's many ways you can show love for somebody, but gifts are a big part of it. But that's not what the epicenter of Christmas should be, and I do think that gets lost. It gets lost, and look, I'm the first one to say I'm guilty of it. It's not just society. It's I've fallen into that trap where you feel like, did I do enough? Did I buy enough? Did I spend enough?
Right.
But I think there is a message to be sent to people, especially in this time. If you are struggling financially, don't get out over your skis. We talked about on the show before about being financially responsible, especially when it comes to credit card debt. It is at a record all-time high, Brett, and I think that is going to have a long-standing impact on our country at some point if we don't get this down. But this is when people do it. This is when they spend too much.
It's easy. It accumulates fast, so I can be guilty of that too. So
we were talking about it the other day, like. I'll be honest, I love my wife, and she gives phenomenal gifts, but 3 years ago on Christmas, I don't remember what she bought me.
Right.
So we spend hundreds of dollars on people that we love to show them that we have a value that we assign to them and their love for us, and in reality, does it really matter? Right?
It's funny you say that because this year we all agreed on the parents, brother, nephews, nieces. I don't have any nieces, but I've got nephews. No gifts this year. Mm-hmm. So the only gifts that we're doing is between me and my sons, or Lillian and I are buying gifts for our sons. Mm-hmm. For my parents don't need anything. They've done well. There's nothing I'm going to buy them that they need, and there's absolutely nothing that they can buy that I need.
And Candace, my wife, she has some amazing people that pour in her life, and one of the people said, I give my kids 3 gifts every year. Something to wear, something they want, and something they need. If 3 things is good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for you.
Yes.
Where did it come into play, Brett, that all of a sudden you got to get 14 things for your kids?
I think that, it goes back to we want to provide for our kids, maybe sometimes more than what we had as children, and we want them to know that we love them. Sometimes I think it's keeping up with the Joneses. Well, so-and-so's kids has this, and so, and, I go back to, most of the time they're going to break it within the first 6 months of having it, right?
Yeah.
Or, and don't get me wrong, we want our kids to have things that they want and things that they need and all that. But we also need to point back to your point that this is not about gifts and things and stuff like that. I mean, think about Thanksgiving. The United States is the only place where we just spent a Thursday talking about being thankful for things we have. And the Friday, we kill each other shopping, trying to buy things we don't
Friday
need.
Sales. Yeah, it's bizarre. And again, I just emphasize to people that if you're not financially in a situation where you have to buy, don't use your credit card. I think now they're saying 57% of people are reporting some debt heading into holiday shopping. Don't add to that. There's other things that you can do. And I'll tell you this, some of the most rewarding things that we saw this holiday season were the efforts of people in our community doing philanthropical things, right, Chastity? With the Shop with the Hero, with the volunteer opportunities at the Fish, whether it's going and participating, helping feed somebody, whatever it may be, that is stuff that is lasting, that really means something. So it's easier said than done. I don't know that that'll ever shift. Obviously, gift giving is always going to be a part of our culture, but I just would love to see people get back to what the core reason is, and just that family time. Because as I've gotten older, what Christmas means to me now is vastly different. So as a kid, it's one thing. It's what are you going to get? As a young parent, it's all excited about what am I going to get for my kids. You still want to do that as an older parent. But now, you know what I look forward to the most, Brett, is having both of my boys home at the same time, which I don't get that anymore. You know, maybe once or twice a year do I have both boys in my presence for longer than just a couple of hours. And so that, to me, that is Christmas. And I know that means a lot to my parents, too. You know, for all of us to be able to get together and break bread, have a dinner together. I think we're doing that Saturday or Christmas night. Something simple, spaghetti, easy. But I'm just looking forward to that time, to the family time.
And I think that's a lot to do with maturity. As you're maturing and realizing that time is the most valuable thing, right? We were explaining to our kids that my son was talking about a gift that somebody got him. And I said, it wasn't a gift. Think about it like this. That person traded their hours for those dollars. So when you look at it, it didn't cost them this much. It cost them this much time to get that. And you start valuing time more, because time is what we trade for dollars, and the dollars are what we buy the present with. So to your point, my kids were asking me what I wanted. I was like, hey, you know what? You know, my two girls, hey, just come snuggle with me and let's watch a movie.
Yeah.
Write me a note, because that comes from your heart. That's what I care more about, because they get pinned to my office wall. Yeah. And my kids came for our Christmas party, and one of my daughters looked at me. She goes, I didn't realize you kept that card I gave you for Father's Day. And it was, you know, not the best penmanship from when she was younger, but it means something to me. And I see that every day. And when I start getting stressed out, I look at that and remember them, and the IRS is who I work for.
Oh, well said, well said. Well, folks, I want to say thank you to all of our listeners who have stuck with us as this show has come off the ground 3 months ago. We are working harder and harder every day to be sure that we bring you a quality product. We want to bring you something that's informative, something that's educational, and hopefully something that's entertaining. You know, the 2 hours that we spend with you Monday through Friday, noon to 2. We work hard. Chastity, you have been an absolute blessing as a producer, securing guests for this show. That is really the highlight, in my opinion, is not just hearing me rattle off stuff about what's going on in the world. It's interviewing people that are in our community, and it's not just elected officials. It's not just what we designate as leaders. Some of the best interviews that we've had, Chastity, are just regular folks that have come in and shared their story of maybe from despair to redemption, or a success story, or something that happened in their lives. For me, that has been an absolute blessing, and I know you've enjoyed that as well.
Absolutely. And if it helps one person, that's what it's all about. So.
Well, and we're going to continue with this throughout the new year. So we will be off the air for the next 2 weeks as we celebrate Christmas with our families. Then we're going to celebrate New Year. So there's a lot going on. We will still have some very live shows on the station. Just the Marc McMain show will take a 2-week hiatus. So we'll be back on the first full week of January after the new year. And Chastity, who are some of the guests that you have queued up for us?
I'm so excited. So we have a great lineup already for January. We're looking at our sheriff, wonderful Sheriff Keith Brooks.
He has not been on. I think he was our first guest, right?
So we're going to have him back in the studio, giving us a good update on Walton County. And then we've got Brad Raffensperger.
He's a candidate for governor. Yep.
Yes.
Current Secretary of State.
Super excited about that. And then we'll be hearing back from your favorite, David Earl, with the Franklin's Fishing Report.
Got the fishing report.
Yes.
Yep.
And all the good sales and deals going on at Franklin's.
So they're probably going to have some like post-holiday deals, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They have like clear out the whole store, 50% off everything at the very end of their, probably December 31st, I believe. 50% off everything, because they just don't want to have to count that inventory.
That's the real genius in this whole thing, Brett, is if you can figure out how to just delay the Christmas gifts so like a week after Christmas, that's when all the deals are. That's, if you want to be a true fiscal conservative.
That tangible tax.
That's right.
You got to get rid of it.
No, so I'm looking forward to that, Chastity. Again,
absolutely.
I wish you a Merry Christmas, Brett.
Thank
I wish you a Merry Christmas. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to getting right back after it in 2026.
And thank you, Mark, and your wonderful family. And we just have a wonderful family thing here going on. So we're just very grateful for you and Liliana. We love y'all.
I love it. Look, this is a locally owned radio station. We have local talent. Everybody that's on this show, for the most part, unless it's some of the non-live programming, these are folks that live right here in our communities, and that's what we're doing. We're bringing in people from our backyards, from Walton, Barrow, Morgan, Oconee, Clark counties, and beyond to come in and share their stories. There's no place else. Even though we play fantastic country music, there's no place else you can tune in and hear your sheriff.
That's right.
Or tune in and hear Brett Malden, successful business owner, coming in and just sharing the thoughts with us. So that's what this is all about. Hey, quick prayers for Billy Brew. His mother passed away. He's going to be off the air for a few days as he takes care of his family. Yeah, please keep Billy Brew in your prayers. So if you don't hear him in the morning, that is why. Folks, until then, stay safe. We will see you in the new year, and enjoy this killer song that Chastity has queued up for us.
So whosoever south and sounds like home.